अच्छा जी, ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन लेक्चर वन. What you need to understand is that transformation is transforming object to image. Transformation is transforming object to image. What you need to understand is that your object will normally be given, your object will be given, you will be told to transform it using translation, using reflection, using enlargement, or rotation. So these are the four things that will be used to transform the object to the image. Either the question can relate to translation, or the question can be related to reflection, the question can relate to enlargement, or the question can relate to the rotation. So, considering this, what you need to know majorly, that translation, let's just start with translation. Translation is it is when object is translated to image without changing shape and size. Only position will change. Only position will change. So, what does this particularly mean? This means that your object will be there, right? The object will be translated, and when it is translated, your shape and size does not change. That means the object shape and the size will remain same, just the position will change. Just the position will change. Now when we talk about position, this position changes with this position changes with one thing, which is translation factor, which is translation factor, also known as column vector form, which means your normal translation factor is given in x and y. Now, this x and y matrix basically represents one particular thing, that is change in x, and this can be change in y. Now, looking at this, that means the x and y translation factor plays very important part in the translation. That means that suppose if I say we have x and y, if I say we have positive x, positive y, so positive x change will bring towards right, and positive y change will bring towards up. That means the object will shift on the right hand side because of the positive x, and the object will shift upwards because of the positive y. Considering same as, let's say, x, y, we have x negative, y positive. So because of x negative, the object will shift to left, and because of positive y, the object will go upward. Similarly, if I say positive x negative y, now this will shift my object to right hand side because of positive x, but downwards because of positive or negative y. If both the translation of change in x and change in y are negative, it will shift towards left, it will shift towards left, and it will shift towards downwards. So that means in total there can be 4 translation factors that can be tested. One is your x and y, which means right and upwards. There can be negative x, and positive y, which means left and upwards. Then can be x and negative y, that means right and downwards. There can be negative x and negative y, that means left and downwards. Now, we'll work through the example question so that we know what translation is. Let's say we have been given an object. We have been given an object. Now, when we do transformation, irrespective of what type of transformation we are doing, what we need to understand is that it is not just the object to the image. It is not just the object to the image. What you need to understand is it is the object point to image point. So that means when we talk about object point and the image point, we talk about each object point. We talk about each object point to each image point. That means all the points will be individually dealt for the object to transform to its image. Now, for suppose, let's just look at the graph. We can just see that there are 3 points on the triangle. There are 3 points on the triangle. Your first point is 1, 1. Your x is 1 and the other point will be 1. So I can take this thing as what? 1, 1. Whereas this will be 2, 1. And the last point will be 1, 3. Each time when you are writing down the coordinates, you will write down the x first and the y afterwards. So considering these things, what we know is that your each point is given to you. And the each point that is given to you, let's take this as A, let's take this as B, let's take this as C. Even if you don't mark the alphabet, that's fine enough. You don't need to write down the alphabet, you can directly do them if you are so good. But at the moment, what we are just trying to learn the transformation. So we'll mark the points. That means object points are A, B, and C. So considering that object points are A, 1, 1, B is 2, 1, and your C is 1 and 3. So every time when I say when we do transformation, it is not the object to the image, it is basically the each point of object being transformed to each point of image. Now, if I just say with respect to the thing what we are doing, translation. So translation, it says, let's say translation factor is 2 and 3. Translation factor is 2 and 3. So let's say that it is positive 2 and positive 3. So positive 2 goes on the right hand side, positive 3 goes on towards the up. Now that particularly means that each point will go towards right and each point will go upwards. That means 2 points towards right and 3 points towards upward. 2 points towards right and 3 points towards upward. So look at this. If I say this is your point 1, so if I want to move 2 points on the right, so this would be 1 and 2. The point comes here, and how many points upward? 3 points. 1, 2, 3. That means your A dash will come here at this point. Similarly, if I see at B, 2 points towards right, 1, 2, and 3 points upward, 1, 2, 3. So your B dash will come here. For C, 1, 2, and upward 1, 2, 3. That means your C dash will come here. Let's just mark it through the points. So that means each point A towards A dash. 2 points on the right, 1, 2, and upward 3. 1, 2, 3. So that means this becomes your A dash. Your B, right, 2 points towards right, 1, 2, and 3 points upward, 1, 2, 3. This becomes your B dash. Similarly, C, 1, 2 towards right, and upward 3, 1, 2, 3. So this becomes your C dash. So eventually you end up having what? You end up drawing the triangle, and this triangle is what? Changing the object to the image. Changing the object to the image without changing its shape, without changing its size. You have just changed the position of what? The object to the image. That means each point, this A is transformed to what? A dash. That means A was 1 and 1. It is transformed to 3 and 4 now. And how did we do that? Each point is transformed 2 points on the right and 3 points upward. So 1, 2, 2 points on the right. If you see from 1 to 3, it is moving 2 points. And from this point upward, it is moving 1, 2, 3. From 1 to 4, it is moving what? 3 points upward. So each point is moving 2 points on the right and 3 points upward. Each point is moving 2 points on the right and 3 points upward. Now, working down the same question with its normal formula that we solved. The normal formula that we use in the translation is that object point, your object point plus translation is equal to image. Your object plus translation is equal to what? Image. Now, when we talk about object, translation, and image, we work about each point of object to each point of image. So let's just say your A point was 1 and 1. So for A, we will have to change this in column vector as well. So that means your object will become 1 and 1. Your translation factor is 2 and 3. So in matrices, what we do is your value up value is already added towards the first value, and your second value is added to the second value. So 1 plus 2 will make 3, and 1 plus 3 will make it 4. So if we just write it, 1 plus 2 is 3 and 1 plus 3 is what? 4. So that means your A 1 1 becomes what? A dash of 3 comma 4. So if we just note the same point here, that your A was what? 1 1, but now your A is what? 3 and 4. Your A is what? 3 and 4. That means your 1 1 coordinate has been shifted towards 3 and 4. Similarly, using the formula O plus T is equal to I, that means object coordinate plus translation is equal to what? Image. Object coordinate plus translation is equal to what? Image. Your object is 1 1, transform to the translation factor of 2 and 3. So 1 plus 2 becomes 3. 1 plus 3 becomes what? 4. That is the same point that you got for image. With the respect to this, we can also change our B coordinate to directly. Let's say your B was 2 and 1. So 2 and 1 is the object. 2 and 3 is the translation factor. So 2 plus 2 is 4 and 1 plus 3 is 4 as well. So if you note here, this is 4 and this is 4. So that means your B dash, when we did it directly, it is what? 4 and 4. So on the other hand, if you just see that we can also shift what? We can shift C as well. So for C, we can write down your C coordinate was 1 comma 3. So let's say 1 and 3 are here, plus 2 and 3. Your translation factor remains same for each point. So 1 plus 2 is 3 and 3 plus 3 is 6. So what do we have? Your object image coordinate, which is C dash, this is B dash. So C dash is 3 comma 6. So 3 comma 6, this is 3 and this is 6. So your C has been shifted to C dash with the translation factor of 2 and 3, or the O plus T is equal to I formula. Normally, when do we use O plus T is equal to I? When your object and image is given. Your object coordinate and your image coordinate is given, and you need to find what? Translation factor. Or you can do it directly using the graph as well. That is all up to you. The examiner won't deduct your marks. So if we just know the formula that is O plus T is equal to I, that will eventually help us a lot. Okay, so now moving on to the next translation factor, so that we should know the more example questions for this. Let's say translation factor is -2, 3. Now that means your x is now -2 and your y is what? 3. Considering -2 and 3, what we know is that negative x will change the position towards left, and this will change the position towards upward. That means our object point will each move towards right or each move towards left and towards upward. So that means your each point of the object, So considering this, that this is your A, this is your point A. Let's just mark it down properly. Let's just now, this is your point A. The translation factor says -2 and 3. -2 says on the left, and this will go towards up. So, towards left means each point 1, 2. This point goes towards left and then will go upward 1, 2, 3. So, at this point, what we know is we got A dash. For B, if you see 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, at this point it will become what? B dash. For C, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. At this point it will become C dash. That means each point of the object is transformed to the each point of the image. So now this will become your what? Your object to the image. Now this will become your object to the image. Your object A has been transformed to the image A dash or any other variable that we can consider. But at the moment, what we need to understand is that it is going -2 on the left and 3 upwards. So each point -2 on the left and 3 point upward. -2 on the left, 3 points what? Upward. 1, 2, 3. -2 and 3 points upward. Now, with the same respect to the question, let's just say that this point, we already knew the coordinates. The coordinates were A, B, C, and which was what? Which was 1, 1, 2, 1, and 1, 3. If I just use the same formula, coordinates were A was what? 1, 1, B was 2, 1, and C was 1 and 3. So if we just use the formula of O plus T is equal to what? I. Now the new translation factor is -2 and 3. So what we need to understand is your object is 1, 1. Your translation factor is -2 and 3. So 1 -2 will give me -1 and 1 plus 3 will give me 4. So that means if I say this is A, this becomes your A dash. Your coordinate of A was 1, 1. Now the coordinate of A dash is -1 and 4. Looking at the question, if you just see that this is your -1 and this is your 4. So A dash coordinate is -1 and 4. With the same formatting and the concept, if I say that your B coordinate is 2 and 1 and this is -2 and 3. So 2 becomes 0 and this will become what? 4. So your B dash becomes 0 and 4. So if you just look at this, what we need to understand is that your B coordinate have been shifted to B dash. So this is 0 and this is 4. From 2, 1 to 0 and 4. For C, if you just see that we have C is given as what? C is given as 1 and 3. So plus negative 2 and 3, which will be 1 negative 2 will become negative 1 and 3 plus 3 will become 6. So negative 1 and 6. So can we just say this point is negative 1 and 6. So C dash will be negative 1 and 6 here. From C, 1 and 3 to what? C dash negative 1 and 6. So that particularly means that each point of the object is being transformed to each point of the image using the formula of O plus T is equal to I, or you can eventually do it directly if you wish to do it this way. That means for the first part, what we did was moving it right, moving 3 upward. This was moving left and moving 3 upwards. So we can directly do it on the graphical, or we can do it through the different formulas that is given, that is O plus T is equal to I, using the object coordinate and using the translation factor. Okay, Ji. So here we have another example question. Let's say that we have a shape given, that is triangle A can be mapped onto triangle B by the translation. Write down the column vector for the translation. Now see, what you need to understand is that the question will tell me triangle A is mapped onto triangle B. If it says triangle A is mapped onto triangle B, that means triangle A is your object, and triangle B, since it is mapped onto triangle B, it will be your image. So one thing is your object, the other thing becomes your image. Now let's say the object is this A and the image is this B. So for each object to the image, if you understand this, can we just say that if this point is A, with the same value, this will become A dash. If this is B, this should become what? B dash. If this is C, this should become what? C dash. That means C becomes your object, C dash becomes your image, B becomes the object, B dash becomes the image, A becomes the object, A dash becomes the image. So at this point, what you need to understand is that considering the situation when the question says triangle A is mapped onto triangle B, so triangle A is your object, triangle B becomes the image that we have. So now when the object is transformed to the image, what we need to understand is that we need to count. We need to count, or we can do it directly as well using the coordinates. Can we just see from A to A dash, we are moving right on the right 3 points. We are moving towards right 3 points, and we are moving 1 point towards upward, right? So that means if I say A to A dash, my column vector would be what? 3 and 1, because each point is moving 3 points towards right and 1 point towards up. Considering the same thing for B and B dash, 3 points towards right, 1 points towards up. Even the C point will remain same. 3 points towards right and 1 point towards up. So that means the translation factor that we want to find out will be 3 and 1, using the change in X and change in Y. Now, considering the same thing, if I just take this thing down, let's just remove this thing, right? What we need to understand is, let's just say that this is your A and this becomes your A dash. So your A coordinate given that is 2 and 1. Your A coordinate is given as what? 2 and 1. So let's just write A coordinate as 2 and 1. So A is 2 and 1. Your A dash is 5 and 2. So if we just use the formula O plus T is equal to I, if we just use the formula of O plus T is equal to I, your O is 2 and 1, that means object is 2 and 1. You do not know the translation factor, but you know the image, that is 5 and 2. So if I just need to find out T, so what we can do is we can shift 2 and 1 on the other side. Remember, the sign inside the bracket won't change, but the sign outside the bracket will change, that is 2 and 1. So can we just say that t will become 5 minus 2 is 3 and 2 minus 1 will become 1. So this is the same translation factor which we got through the graphical representation as well. So we can do it either way. Either we can work down through the graphical representation thing, finding the change in x and change in y, or we can work through the formula that is O plus T is equal to I. Both in both particular ways, you will find the answers that would be given as your translation factor. So this was translation lecture number 1. Transformation.